This morning, we're going to hopefully finish chapter 23 in honor of Hanukkah, a little Hanukkah present to actually finish the chapter. We're up to verse 10. We note various phases in the negotiation between Avram Avinu and the various parties involved in being able to get to the moment we can actually bury Sarah Imenu. And needless to say, the worst possible time to negotiate is this time for Avram Avinu. I mean, here his wife passed away, and now he's got to engage a whole, basically business deal to try to purchase the Marat HaMachpelah. So last we talked about a methodological point about how to understand the words Marat HaMachpelah, different understandings based on various commentators. We saw the machloket between Rashi and the Rashbam, his own grandson, about what it means when we say we're looking for the direct, simple, straight, literal understanding. What do the words mean? That's what Rashi purports to want to do. Rashbam didn't agree that that was what he was doing. There's a certain continuum in which each of the Parshanei Mikra plots themselves. How much am I going to see the pshat just as pshat, and how much do I see the pshat as not just enhanced by, but as having gaps in it and problems that specifically are answered by the world of the Medrash, as an exegetical gesture. So in terms of trying to make the commentary jive with the simple, direct meaning of the story. We talked previously, prior to last week's shir, about the negotiation before Avram Avinu gets to Ephron, his negotiation with the Bnei Chet, and to realize that one of the things they are trying to push is that you, Avraham, are really one of us. We want to embrace you and assimilate you to be a national treasure for us. And therefore, your wife is, your now deceased wife, is part of our narrative, our burial lands, and you're just now a native. And he's saying, I'm a ger v'toshav, I'm a resident alien, that kind of thing. I'm a stranger and a resident. He's bowing to them. They're calling him the great Nasi Elohim, the Prince of God, and he's bowing to them, not only as a modality of mode of expression of his humility, but also I wonder if it isn't also to show, and not just in terms of deference to them, but to say, I am not among you. I'm a foreigner. And therefore, I'm showing the utmost deference to you, a foreign culture, foreign group. Eventually, the discussion goes to getting to meet Ephron. And in verse 8 already, Avram Avinu knows which cave he wants. We talked also about the meanings of the cave and the way Chazal understand it. Did Avram Avinu already know about the cave? Did he not know about the cave? Did he have some kind of Ruach HaKodesh about the cave? Was it divine providence that he chose the right cave, that he didn't know? Different options. It seems the people, though, who live in Hebron, in Kiryat Arba, are not aware as such. They don't mention it, and it's not even in the Pshat. Now, in verse 10, we already saw Ve'efron Yosef, from verse 10 now, chapter 23, verse 10. Ve'efron Yosef b'toch b'nei Chet, Vayan Ephron achitzi et Avraham be'oznei b'nei Chet l'chol ba'ishar iro lemor. And so he answers, Ephron is sitting among the Bnei Chet. Ephron responds to Avraham. To the ears of the Bnei Chet means within earshot. So there are witnesses to what's going on. It's almost like it's a formal proceeding that's taking place. And it's the Shar Ha'ir. Chol Ba'ei Shar Iro, Rashi points out, everyone stopped work because she was such a great dignitary. They all wanted to be present and accounted for with the chesed of her burial. Then comes the negotiation part, where Ephron now tries to say, no, I'm giving it to you, right? Lo adoni shma'eni, so that's the word no, right? You, according to Rashi, it's not for money. No, that's not how it's going to be. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to sell it to you, rather. Sadenatati lach, v'amarash yarbo l'chanatati, I'm going to give it to you, I'm going to give it to you. Le'enei b'nei chet, b'nei ami, excuse me, natia lach for to the eyes of the people who are here, they're going to see that I'm giving it to you now, i.e., it is not going to be given as something that is purchased, but for free. And of course, we said already that as soon as it's a gift, the question is it a gift that's an outright transfer of ownership, or is it a gift like I'm happy to host you? It's the hospitality of the ancient Near East. In the Middle East, they're very into hospitality. It's our ethos generally. We know you, Avram, are into hospitality. Come, let us host your burial plots. And of course, that is exactly what Avram Avinu is trying to avoid in this interaction. So, Vayishtachu Avraham lifnei am haaretz. He bows down in front of all the people who are there. Again, a certain deference when they say they want to give him a gift as well, right? Vaydaber lefron be'oznei am haaretz lemor. Ach im ata lushma'eni natati kesef hasadeh kach mimeni ve'ekberat meti shama. Right. So, if you would listen to me, you want me to listen to you to take it for free. I don't want to do that, but rather I hope you will do what I actually want, which is to take money for it. And Avram is careful about this to say it again, so that the people hear he wants to buy it. Vayan Ephron et Avraham lemor lo. He responds back, Adoni shma'eni. So my master, hear my words. Eretz arba me'ot shekel kesef beini uvein chamahi vet meitecha kivor. This sum, what is it really between us? It's 400 silver coins, or the weight of 400 silver, of 400 shekel worth of silver. What is it really between us? And why don't you bury your dead here? Wait, Shelly, give me one more second. I wanted to make one little point about this, which is the Seforno points out that you know what? We just had the conversation. Ephron saying to him, "You'll pay me soon. Why don't you bury her now? We'll settle up the bill right after." And the point of the mahi of 400 between you and me, what is it really, is not as we normally translate. Come on, it's not a very big sum. And yet, according to Rashi and Chazal, it was a very big sum, right? It was sort of the special hospitality of Ephron there in Hebron. This is how it worked. Oh, it's free. There's a little surcharge. Oh, it's free. I give it to you for free. Well, I do want to pay you for it. Okay, if you want to pay me for it, it's this exorbitant sum. That's how Rashi kind of reads it. But the Sforno sees it as it's another attempt to co-opt Avraham. Bury her first in the land we already settled verbally, and my word is my bond, something like that. You'll pay me later. What does Avraham Avinu do next? Vayishma Avraham el Ephron. He listens to Ephron, but he doesn't bury Sarah. Vayishkol Avraham el Ephron et hakesef asher diber be'oznei bnei chet. Arba meyot shekel kesef over lasocher. He pays him immediately up front in order to make sure that it is clear before he buries Sarah, I purchased it. Okay, Shelly, go ahead. Unmute. I don't hear you yet.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, most of the time we think, oh, Ephron is just this really greedy guy, and that's why he's asking for the 400 shekels. But maybe not. Maybe what he is he doesn't want that plot out of his family. He doesn't really want. He's willing to, like you said, to let Sarah be buried and whatever, but he doesn't want Avraham to own anything. But he's in the position of all these witnesses too. So he comes up with this outrageous amount, thinking that Avraham will then just say what any normal person would say. No, okay, I'll just bury her. I don't have the 400 pounds, or I can't. I'm not going to do it. And so then they just bury her, and Ephron would save face, and everybody would save face, and the whole thing would be over. Yeah,
point well taken. This is actually a machloket. The Ramban mentions that according to Onkelos' translation into Aramaic, when he said Arbamiot shekel kesef, what he meant to say is it's worth 400 shekel. That's what it's worth. It was valued at that. It was, and it might be that it was already a known sum. Like, this is how much it is per acre, and that's what it costs, right? And the Ramban actually writes, it was according to its size. There's a set fee. And then Ramban allows, by the way, according to our sages of blessed memory, in Breisheet Rabbah, in the Gemara Bava Metzia as well, Ephron made up a price, and it was very expensive, B'yoker Gadol. And Avraham b'nidvat libo, in the generosity of his spirit, Shama v'asakir tznovi higdil, and he gave whatever it was supposed to be. But the Ramban goes back again to his original point, and he says the last line, Bal derech hapshat, the simple, not simple, simplistic, but the direct, literal rendering. Let's pshat of something pashut. What's the derech hapshat? Eretz abam me'ot shekel ketzev shekana ota b'kach Ephron. That's what the plot of land was worth. That's what Ephron bought it for. That's what Ephron's forebears bought it for. That's its value. It's not related to the back and forth, as such. Karen asks a good question about Ephron and being sometimes a Jewish name now. I think maybe Ephraim is a Jewish name. I don't know. Is Ephron really Jewish? Maybe. I actually heard of it. There's a guy I know named Ephroni. I'm not sure. Because
Efron, there's Zac Efron, who's an actor. Was
the
Nora
last
Ephron,
name.
for last name. Nora Ephron, I can't think of her sister's name, but they definitely were both Jewish.
A filmmaker.
Filmmakers, exactly.
That's a good point. Not sure.
I don't know.
Because I know also a guy named Ephroni.
Answer, but interesting to think.
Yeah, and not too many Lots and Lovins walking around.
Right. But Ephron, yes. I'm
not sure, but as we're saying though, like Ephron gets a bad rap for sure in my kids' school in fourth grade, for sure. He's a bad man. He's taking advantage. He's mischievous. He's trying to somehow connive to squeeze money out of Avram Avinu. Why? Because of necessity. That's how it works. When you're younger, I go back to this point again, you learn Rashi. Rashi is the most profound of the Parshanei HaMikra. Rashi, however's genius is so bound up with the seemingly utter simplicity, and directs what he says. And he says, just look what's going on here. Look how the guy's talking. Look how it's going. Look how it is, right? The idea here, that Ephron is trying to push it on him, and hey, you can just get it for free. Oh no, by the way, it's a lot. And Rashi didn't make it up. He took it from the Gemara in Bava Metzia. If you look at Pasuk Tet Zayin, the word Ephron, Vayishko Avram leEphron, no vav. So Rashi says, Chaser vav. He spoke a lot about things he was going to do, even a little bit he didn't do. He took from him a type of coin, which was a very large coin. The shkalim gedolim means, because these are all weights. So it was a very large weight that he took, called the kantarin. And that's why it's a shnemar over la socher. He used even the largest possible weight as the counterweight for how much silver Av would have to put down. And then Rashi adds centinaris, cent, like cents, like percent. The cent is 100. So the cents, something about hundreds. It's some kind of denomination. It's very, very large. And Ephron could care less. He's bilking him because he can. And that's the underhand nature again. But you look at other Mefarshim, Ramban among them. Was he really cheating him? Is this story really about taking advantage of Avram Avinu at that time, or is it really about Avram being very clear? I want to pay full price. I don't want anyone to quibble about it, and I love that you love me and you want a gift, but the gift actually is not going to be free. There's going to be a price later, and I need to know that this is absolutely mine for all time. So, okay, Shelley, go ahead, Shelley.
Yeah. It's reminding me of the 50s and the 60s with interfaith kind of things where, they actually, so I'm thinking that these people are not a bunch of anti-Semites. They're not bad. Just join us. We just want you to be part of us. They're not really bad. And you can do your kind of thing and we can do our kind of thing and we're all going to get along really well. And that's not what Abraham wants. That's your article that I was reading last night, the 17-page one. It's very hard to, how do you fit into the world? And does it
Right.
depend which world you, there was more of a, in the 50s and 60s, there was more of a commonality of social mores than there is now. And there, I don't know what it was in Abraham's time.
I don't know then either, but certainly the 50s and 60s, the ethos of groups and group belonging and community was a different time, 100%. I'm glad also, I mentioned parenthetically, it's flattering to me that the most you could say about the essay is it was 17 pages. Yeah, it's kind of long, but I had a lot to say. So I've been building, and I spoke about it on Shabbat Shuvah. But back to your point about this, you're right. Herman Wouk, famous Herman Wouk quote, from the perspective of an army, it makes little difference if the soldiers are killed on the battlefield or if they just drop their weapons and take off the uniforms and run away. In either case, the battle is going to be lost. He said that about assimilation. Yeah. So, I personally I don't like the bombastic language of calling assimilation the Holocaust or some such thing. The Holocaust and assimilation, they are two different things. Again, the net result is still losses, but I bristle at people who want to lump these things together and use that kind of bombastic language. It just doesn't sit well with me, by temperament, but also for intellectual reasons. Just doesn't wash. But that is somewhat what's going on here with Avraham. Who is Avraham Avinu? What makes him distinct from everybody else? That he has a Brit Milah, okay, he had a Brit Milah, but now the rest of his interaction, he could be a good guy in civil society. And what better way than to bury your dead with everybody else's dead, and everybody's together in death and then in life as well. Yeah. And of course, the two stories that animate Parshat Chayei Sarah, the first one is about the burial plot, the connection to Eretz Yisrael, but also the distinctiveness of that burial. And then the other story, of course, we're getting to is the intermarriage story or non-intermarriage story. Make sure that it doesn't happen and make sure that you get the right wife in the right place and the right shidduch. Yeah, the two main stories. The other stories in the parsha as well, but those are the two main ones.
Rabbi, could any of these? Do any of the commentators say anything about maybe some of these townspeople? Remember, we don't have anything about Yitzchak in this part of the story, but he's not married and he's the heir. And maybe some of these people are thinking, if we're good to Abraham about his dad and we let him in here, he's an old guy and he's got this son and the son isn't married, and let's look to the future. Yeah, maybe we'll get a piece of the action. Either we'll get part of the estate or we'll help pair him up with someone. Yeah, Yecholiot. Yeah, Yecholiot. It very well could be. Very good point. Excellent point. Yeah. Let's look at the next section. What happens here? He pays him the money by Yaakov, and then verse 17. If you read it hyper literally, it animated the field. Doesn't really mean that, but when you read it, it has that feeling almost. Vayakom Sdei Ephron, the field of Ephron, got up. Asher Machpelah, Asher Lifnei Mamre, Hasadeh V'Amara Asher Bo, V'Chol Eitz Asher Basadeh, Asher B'Chol Gvulo Saviv. The whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle, the field, the cave, the field and the cave, the trees that are in the field, that are the whole area and the border all around. LeAvraham lemikna le'enei bnei chet b'chol ba'ei shar iro, and to the eyes of, so they see exactly what's going on. They all witness this happening. Of course, Rashi gives us two renderings. I'm going to give you an example. This is not a davar acher, where there's this possibility and that possibility, and there's somehow intention with each other. Here, Rashi says two things. Number one, Vayakom Sdei Ephron, it got up. It rose up means tukuma haitalo sheyatzim yad hedyot biyad melech. It left. It went up. It was elevated. It went on aliyah. It arose. It got up. And what does it mean? It got up. Its level went up because it went from a commoner Ephron to a king Avraham. I mean, what a beautiful idea, right? Now, there's something else going on here, which this connects. If you go back to verse 3, I think it was, it's Vayakom Avram, Me'al Pnei Meito. There's a lot of kima, people and things getting up. So there's the sadness of the passing, there's the getting up. Then there's the field, it's getting up. It's getting up. Everything's
moving in an upward direction. Yeah, even in the sadness, in the challenge, in the moments of pain, there's still the opportunity there. There is a point after which, okay, we got to try to get up. That's what's happening here. So there's a connection there. Further, Rashi then says upshuto shel mikra. So Rashi says, but I'll tell you what the pshat of the words vayakam means. It doesn't mean spiritually it was elevated. It means vayakam hasadev hamara asher bo v'chol ha'etz le'avraham le'mikna. The pshat is that you have to read this. That's why I did read it. The two psukim are one pasuk. These things became the purchase of Avram Avinu. Vayakam, the following things, and they became to Avram that which was purchased. It doesn't mean literally, and it doesn't even mean spiritually that they were elevated. It means the kima here refers to the transfer of the property that's going on. That's the way of expressing it. That's what it means, and it happens in the midst of all of the people that they should all see it and witness it. And this becomes an act not only of sale between a buyer and a seller, but it's became a citywide event, and everyone basically is signing off on it, and they have agreed. Right? Remember, Avram went first to the Bnei Chet, then he came to Ephron, and now when he gets the purchase, when he gives the money, he gets it back. With Ephron, exactly the same time, the people have to ratify it as well. Right? So the whole town hall, everybody's there. And then we learn verse 19, B'chareichen kavar Avram et Sarah ishto, Ilma Ratzidei Machpelah al Pnei Mamre hi Chavron be'Eretz Canaan. Who is the one who buried who? Avraham buried Sarah. Where? In the field. Which field? That field. The field that he just bought. It's emphasizing and emphasizing and emphasizing. When he buried her, it was his. And then Pasuk Chaf, the last Pasuk, is basically like at the end of a document. A ketubah is an example, but any shtar, that's in halacha, when you get to the end, you restate again as the last possible line before the signatures what happened. The field arose, but again, doesn't literally mean arose, right? It moved, shifted over the field and the cave that was within it to Avram as a burial ground. Achuzat kaver means he held it for all time. Me'ed b'nei Chet, from the children of Chet. The Rab Sadia go and just says Vayakam is v'yitkayem hasadeh. It means it's saying for the future. We're just the summation of the whole story is zemayesh. This is what happened, and this is how it's going to be in the future as well. We won't have time to see it. We probably won't have time to see it inside today. But when we get to Parshat Vayechi, it will be important for Yaakov to repeat again all of the details about how it was purchased, and that it was purchased, and that it's an achuzat kaver, and that's where I want to be buried. That's where I buried Leah. That's where you're going to bring me. It's a very important feature of Sefer Breisheet. And as we know, the irony of the Medrash saying that the three places that were actually purchased by our patriarchs and by our earlier generations that no one could ever dispute that we own. The first one on the list is Hebron. And of course, you know that last night, the president of Israel, President Herzog, lit the first Hanukkah candle in Hebron. And this was considered some kind of incredibly controversial act. Now that there are Jews and Arabs living there, there's no gainsaying that is the reality, that it's a very complex and tense relationship, that's for sure. But the idea that the president of Israel lighting a Hanukkah candle right outside there where his great-great-great-grandparents are buried should be so controversial reminds us how much work we have yet to do as Klal Yisrael. And this is a mainstay, actually, of our peoplehood. Is to be very much focused on the place of Hebron. Again, I'm not answering for political realities. I'm just saying from a spiritual perspective, the idea that we have a right to be in Hebron, not exclusive, maybe not alone. Avram Avinu didn't live without people around him, right? But that reality is one that even till this day, right now, 5782 is still up for grabs. And here we have to be, I believe, very strong about it, quite frankly, in terms of our right to be there. Again, recognizing how challenging it remains from a political vantage point. Let's okay. I'm going to skip the little polemic that I had.
Rabbi,
Yeah, Helen, go ahead.
Vayokom and Kayem, he seemed, the previous person you said, seemed to link up those two words, that it creates a situation of Mekayem when you say the word Vayokom.
Yeah, correct. I mean, that's, yeah. It arose and it's fulfilled, but it means it's standing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be a more of a legal word too.
It is. That was my point, is that Rashi's first rendering is, it's a very beautiful idea about the status spiritually was elevated. But then turns out, no, legally, that's what it means. That's the purchase. That's how it goes. Exactly.
If you switch the letters around, you got the word Kayem.
It is. That's what it means. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it means. Lekayem is to fulfill, to uphold. So that's
right.
that's what the Reb Sadigon says. The second rendering of it means. Vayakom means it will stand. Be Kayem. Hasadeh.
Okay, thank you. Very good.
Sure.
Thank you.
So I want to show you something just in closing out this chapter 23, which maybe ties together some themes. This is from the Talmud and Tractate Bava Batra. The Talmud relays the story of Eov, and we are familiar with the book of Eov, a big discussion in that Gemara. When exactly did Eov live? And exactly, who is he relating to? Who's the story relating to, if any, of the patriarchs or maybe later generations? So the beginning of the book of Eov, Vayhi hayom vayavo bnei ha'elohim lityatzev al Hashem vayavo gam satan betocham. Right, all of the angels come to stand before God, and the Satan is with them. Vayamar Hashem el Satan me'ayin tavo, where have you come from? And the Satan answers, Vayan Satan. So he said to him basically as follows: Amar lefanav, Ribono she'olam, Master Universe, Shatati b'chol ha'olam kulo. I moved around about the whole world. L'matzati ne'eman ka'avdecha Avram. I found no one who was on as high a level, as faithful as your servant Avraham. She'amarti lo, because you told him, Kum hitalech ba'aretz la'arko l'rachba ki l'chai tnena. You should walk the length and the width of the breadth of the land, for I will give it to you. Va'afilu hachi, nonetheless, b'sha'a shelo matza makom likbor et Sarah, at shekana b'dalad me'ot shekel kasef, lo hirher achar midotecha. And nonetheless, when he found nowhere to bury his beloved Sarah Imenu, he had to purchase the place. He still did not raise any complaint against you, even though it was not a fulfillment of the promise. Rashi here on this Gemara, kum hitalech hainu de ka'amar umi hitalech ba me'oto she'amarta lehitalech ba'aretz ani ba. So basically, this idea that when he told him, when you're going in it, so okay, we're going together. You're going to own it, and I'm going to go with you. What happened? We had to bury Sarah. Just had to do it, and he had to negotiate. And where was God? And why didn't God? There's no revelation, etc. Oh, Shelley, go ahead.
Why isn't that that could be considered a sin against Abraham, like going down to Egypt? Some commentators consider him going down to Egypt in a famine. The idea of how much you rely on God and how much you do on your own, because you are supposed to do stuff on your own, but you're not supposed to do everything on your own. Gets you into a lot of trouble, as we found out in some of the books that we have.
We're still working out the balance.
Yeah. We're
still working out the balance. And within the Chachamim, you have a range of of people who take different approaches to this, right?
But the Talmud Bavli did not feel that he should have somehow, that God should have done something, that his
No, well, Davka, that's the point, is that even the Satan in the story of Eov had to admit, look how great Avram Avinu is. You took his main promise that you told him he didn't get in his lifetime. How do we know? He had to go buy it. And therefore, the reality is it just makes him even greater.
Okay,
And
thank
it
you.
is a question,
I couldn't help but think maybe there's a dissenting opinion that it was wrong of him, just like there was going down to Egypt.
So
Both.
we don't have a I don't know of anyone in Chazal and any of the Parshanemi crowds say that. I'll just point out that when Avraham goes down to Egypt, Hashem did not tell him to go. For Rashi, he passed the test with flying colors because you need to take yourself in hand. And even that, you could say it already there. Even though Hashem gave him a promise, go to the land, everything will be great, right? You'll be great. It'll be great. There'll be brachas, everything. He gets there, and within a very short time, he's got to leave. Rashi is saying that even though Rashi knows that when he got to Egypt, he had a lot of trouble there, and then he had to come right back. So Ramban says, well, the fact that when he went to Egypt, he's got problems. The fact is Hashem gave him a promise. The right move, like we're on such a high level, but the right move, says that Ramban about Avram Avinu, was that he shouldn't have gone down to Egypt. He should have waited for the next instruction. How do we know? See, Engel's saying, I don't know if it's true, that the Ramban surmises this from the fact that when he goes to Egypt, it is a pretty negative experience. There was like a little punishment, a patch, if you will, some patch. His wife got kidnapped, almost, taken away permanently by the Pharaoh, Lo Aleinu. But Hashem intervened. There were makas, Vayinaga Hashem, punished him. But we're always working this out, right? Where does God want us to take the next step? And when do we just say, God, you're running things, right? So my Rebbeim in general are much more from the school of Hashem is inviting us to do and to be and to act as best we can, but recognize whatever we're doing, it's not going to work without Hashem's help. And whatever we're doing, we need God's help in it. It's not what I'm doing. So I'm choosing. That's the first part. But everything I do with that, I need Hashem's help to do it. In this case, this is what Avram Avinu did. His wife passed away. He didn't say, no, God, so how am I supposed to bury her now? He didn't say, oh, I'll just bury her. And thank you so much for giving it to me for free, because really secretly I already own it. He said, I'm going to purchase it. I'm going to take an active step and do what I can. Of course, the whole thing's from God, but I got to do what I can. If I have no options left, there's no moves left. Okay, Hashem, you're running everything, no question. But if you've given me that's how it works. You've given me the opportunity to take a next step. So I have to think, so what are the tools that I have? What are the gifts and the blessings Hashem has given me? What can I make from it? From this story, whatever it is. Now you see how Chazal are wrestling with this, and that our patriarchs and matriarchs are wrestling with this. Dovetail, segue into the next source. Because in Shmot Rabbah, the beginning of Parshat Va'era, Moshe Rabbeinu, at the end of Parshat Shmot, complains bitterly to God. He says, you sent me. You told me to go. You told me that he's not going to say yes, power right away, but you didn't tell me that power is going to make it worse for the Jewish people, and the Jewish people are going to blame me that I made it worse for them. You didn't save them. That's the end of Parshat Shmot, right? So Hashem, at the beginning of Parshat Va'era, responds, and I appeared to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov with the name of Kel Shakai. So here, Shmot Rabbah, Ve'erai el Avram, Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch LaMoshe. So the Holy One, blessed be to Moshe. Chaval da'avdim lo mishtachchin. Woe on those who are lost and are no longer found. Harbe pa'amim nigleiti al Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Ve'kel Shakai. V'lo them kishmi Hashem, kishim shamarti lecha. I never appeared to them with such a high level of direct revelation to the Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov as I did to you, Moshe, at the burning bush. And you know what? They never thought anything askance to challenge my attributes, meaning what I said, what I was going to do, even though they didn't live to see it, they didn't complain. Amarti la'Avraham, I said to Avram, get up in the land, walk its length and its breadth. And look, did life give him lemonade? It gave him lemons. He made the lemonade. And yet he didn't challenge me. Amati li Yitzchak, gur ba'aretz hazot ki lecha ulazaracha, etc. I'm giving you and your progeny the land. So he wanted to drink a little bit of water. They wouldn't let him do it. What happened? Fights with all the different shepherds saying, no, it's our water, right? The non-Jewish shepherds. So what happens? He didn't say anything. I told Yaakov, this land that you're lying on right now, the ladder dream, the dream of the ladders, right? He wants to have a place to pitch his tent. He can't find a spot. He's got to buy it, b'mea kisita, another currency, and he did not challenge my attributes. Lo shalani mashmi kshim sha'altoti. You're asking me all sorts of questions, challenging questions. What's my name, and how am I going to believe me? And V'ata tchilat shlichuti amarti li mashmi. You started with that already at the as I'm sending you at the burning bush. You're already saying, well, they won't believe me, right? Uvasof, and at the end now, meaning to this point in the story, Amarti Maz Bati al Paro. You're still saying it since I came to Paro. No? So give me a break. It's almost like Hashem saying to him, Havdil, give me a break. Not literally give me a break, but he's saying to him, come on. Look how great they were. And that's, you see Avram Vinu's element of greatness. The Ramban here says the following. The Ramban at the end of the whole story, Pasuk Yud Tet, says the Ramban, Kishav livaer hasadeh v'hamakum v'haaretz ba'avur kikol parsha izkira b'nei chet ve'efron chiti. Since the whole parsha kept mentioning the b'nei chet and Ephron, etc., now it's just going to say at the end, it's in Eretz Canaan, Asher hi Eretz Yisrael. Wants to amplify now, it's in Eretz Canaan. Eretz Canaan is Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, Ephron and b'nei chet. And I mentioned this pasuk Yud Tet, yeah, and it's not, and that's the emphasis. So there's brackets. The beginning, which is already at the end of the story, but it's the beginning of the story. It's in Eretz Canaan, and here it's Eretz Yisrael. V'cholzeh leveraki hatzadek et meta be'Eretz Yisrael v'shamnik bara. Right, that she died there and she was buried in there. Because the Chitim are really from the family of Canaan, meaning there. As opposed to the fact that Avram and Sarah lived in Eretz Plishtim so many years. So all these different places that he was, all south of Yerushalayim, all these places. Right? Al Kenis Kirke Chevron, who be'eretz Aknani, Yosef ba'aretz Baharahu, v'lo be'eretz Plishtim, and he's carried Avram. It's not in the land of the Plishtim. V'osif basof lo dia ma'ara shehis b'sadeh machpelah pe mamrei shezeh Hashem enodai leh. That's the name that is the well-known name of Ma'arat HaMachpelah. Writes the Ramban now. He explains why was this whole parsha written. If you weren't paying attention, you're falling asleep, this is the part to pay attention. 3 minutes left here, 5 minutes left. To show the kindness of God with Avraham. He was considered the prince of God by all the people. There where he had gone to live, he was the only one. We didn't pay so much attention, but even Ephron calls him my master over and over again. It's not just as the Ramban, the figure of speech, it's that they actually thought of Avram as a great person. He never said to them, oh, by the way, I'm a great person. He never said to them, I'm a prince. He told them that. So he did get in his lifetime the idea that his name would be great and he would be a source of blessing. And his wife died. And where was she buried? In the heritage place of God. And further, and also, the purpose of this parsha is to put us on notice. The place where our patriarchs are buried, we are obligated to bring great honor to that place, which is the place of the burial of our holy forefathers and foremothers. Right here, yeah? Rabbeinu Amru, our sages taught, Shegam zeh min anisyonot shel Avraham. This was one of the tests of Avram. Shebikesh makom likbor et Sarah v'lo matzah ad shekana oto. According to the Ramban's rendering of the Gemara, this was one of the tests. This is the 10th test, right? Should underline this part too, right? This is one of the tests. That could he still do this? And we learned this parsha to learn that he passed the test. We learned this parsha to learn about the idea that Hashem gave him a great chesed. What was the chesed? That the people venerated him and considered him a great man and a prince of God and a source of blessing. Still, he still had to buy the land. And we have to honor that place and honor the holy places where our patriarchs are buried. V'liyadati tam l'divrei Rabbi Avraham she'omer l'hodia malat eretz Yisrael l'chaim v'lametim. He says, I don't know why Rabbi Avram, the Ibn Ezra, wrote that the point of this was to talk about the greatness of the land for the living and for the dead. He said, I don't think it's because of the land. It's because the people connected to the land, our people connected to the land. V'od l'kayem lo dvar Hashem liot lo nachla ki ma mala la'aretz bezeh ki lo yolichenu l'eretz acheret l'kavra. Ramban disagrees with Ibn Ezra. You can like the Ibn Ezra too. I like Ibn Ezra too. With Var Hashem la'avram al kol haaretz haya v'yikayim rak b'zar'o. The truth is, this was not a fulfillment of the promise yet, that he was giving the land to the progeny, because you see that Avram Avinu actually had to purchase it. And Avram Avinu passed this test with flying colors. And the greatness here is in recognizing the great honor we have to pay to these places. The Ramban wrote these words before he passed away in and around the year 1270, some say 1273. The Ramban, we know for sure, was in Yerushalayim in the year 1267. I closed the shiur today with two pictures which I took in 2019 in the summer on the Or Torah mission. Is Debbie still on the line? Debbie Leonard, you were there. Okay. I don't think
I
on
was
the call.
there.
So here we are. So I don't recognize any other names. People were there with us. This is Marna Machpelah. Today, this building is the building built by King Herod. It is not from the days of Avram and Sarah. It was empty as a plaza. I mean, it had a field and it had the whatever else was built there, and it had the cave, right? On the side here, you see there's a little ramp on the side. There's a little ramp to the side. And over here, there is a plaque. In this area, it's actually this plaque over here. When you zoom in on that plaque, as I did, because I walked over, this, by the way, is a member of Or Torah davening outside. I'm not going to name names, but there he is. And when you look here, you realize that this is, according to a number of sources, like Mispar Mekorot, Nitman b'makom should have been the word zeg, it got lopped off. Rabbeinu Moshe ben Nachman HaRamban, buried in this place, according to many sources, is the Ramban. He died on the 11th day of Nisan in this year, the year 1270, according to this version. Again, there's some versions that claim it's 1273. In his last letter to his son, he wrote, Pnei panai mo'adot lalechet lechevron, ha'ir kivrot avotenu, lishtateach kinegdam. My thought, my face is turning, but it means my intention now. He was writing to his son from Yerushalayim, mind you, in 1267. We have the letter to go to Hebron, the city of the burial place of our forefathers, to prostrate myself there on that place, v'lachtzov li sham kever be'ezrat Hashem, and to have hewn for myself a place to be buried. May God help me. Be'ezrat Hashem, with the help of Hashem. And that's the burial place, according to our tradition, of the Ramban. Right here, right near the Kever Avot. So you have the Parshanut, the commentary of the Ramban, that we learn every year, and every time we learn, we pull out the Ramban. And it turns out that the Ramban was so connected to this Parsha and this section that until Ad Biad Goel Tzedek, the time Tchir HaMeitim, when the Avron and the Imahot will arise from the burial place in Hebron, the Ramban will be there to greet them. That's all we have time for today. I wish everyone a Chanukah Sameach, from us here in Galut and Merkaz Ma'arav, but Libenu B'Mizrach, and connected to Kever Avot, and connected to Eretz Yisrael, Medinat Yisrael, and Chag Urim Sameach to one and all. Neirenu Yair, may our light continue to shine, and the Or Al Pnei Mizrach Shebechevron, the light that comes to us on the horizon, all the way from Chevron.
Amen, amen.
Amen. Thunder.
Rabbi